Welcome. Tonight, we drift into a world shaped by intellect, ambition, and a single notebook that can decide life and death. This is the story of Death Note, retold slowly and peacefully to help you relax and unwind. If you enjoy calm anime retellings like this, please like, subscribe, and comment which anime we should explore next. Now, settle in and let the story begin. On a quiet afternoon in Japan, the world feels ordinary, almost painfully so. Inside a high school classroom, time drifts slowly. Lessons blur together, and boredom hangs heavy in the air. Among the students sits Light Yagami, a young man whose intelligence far exceeds the limits of the room around him. His eyes are sharp, his posture calm, but his thoughts are restless. To Light, the world feels rotten, weighed down by crime, corruption, and people who act without consequence. He wonders, silently, why no one with power ever truly changes anything. That same day, something unnatural slips quietly into the human world. From the realm of the Shinigami, gods of death who pass eternity in decay and amusement, a black notebook falls from the sky. It lands unnoticed near the school grounds, resting patiently, as if it has chosen its owner. When Light eventually notices the notebook, it immediately feels out of place. Its cover is dark, heavy, and marked with simple white letters. Death Note. Inside, the rules are written neatly, almost politely, explaining that anyone whose name is written within will die, as long as the writer knows their face. At first, Light scoffs. It reads like a cruel joke, something meant to scare or entertain. Still, curiosity lingers. He takes the notebook home. That night, alone in his room, the world outside softened by darkness, Light begins to test the rules. He writes the name of a criminal he has seen on the news, someone violent, someone the world might be better without. Minutes pass. Then, exactly as written, the man collapses from a sudden heart attack. Light freezes. His breath tightens. Fear and disbelief wash over him in waves. He tries again. Another name. Another criminal. Another death. The truth becomes unavoidable. The notebook is real. As the weight of this power settles over him, Light's fear slowly transforms into resolve. If such power exists, he reasons, it must have a purpose. With careful hands and a steady mind, he begins to imagine a world cleansed of evil, one where criminals vanish before they can harm again. In the silence of his bedroom, Light Yagami takes his first steps toward becoming something more than human. And somewhere unseen, a Shinigami named Ryuk watches with quiet interest, amused that a bored human has finally picked up the notebook and chosen to use it. As days pass, Light Yagami begins to move with a new sense of purpose. The notebook never leaves his reach, tucked carefully away, its presence both comforting and terrifying. Each night he sits alone, the glow of his desk lamp casting long shadows across the room as names fill the pages. Criminals from news reports, fugitives long thought untouchable, men who have caused suffering without remorse. One by one, they die quietly of heart attacks. Across the world, something subtle begins to shift. News broadcasts speak in hushed tones about the growing number of unexplained deaths. At first, authorities dismiss them as coincidence, but the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The criminals all share something in common. They were known, named, and exposed. Fear spreads, not among the innocent, but among those who once believed themselves beyond justice. Light watches the reports with calm focus, his expression unreadable. He does not feel guilt. Instead, he feels clarity. To him, this is not murder. It is correction. He believes the world is witnessing the birth of true justice, delivered by an unseen hand. If criminals fear punishment before acting, then crime itself will fade away. The world will become clean, orderly, peaceful. In the midst of this quiet revolution, the Shinigami Ryuk finally appears before Light. Towering, skeletal, and grinning with jagged amusement, he confirms the truth of the notebook. He explains that he dropped it out of boredom, never expecting such dedication from a human. Ryuk makes no demands and offers no guidance. He is only here to watch how the story unfolds. Light listens without fear. Instead, he feels affirmed. This power was never meant to sit unused. If no god will judge humanity, then he will. Slowly, the public gives a name to the unseen executioner. Kira, a symbol of fear, justice, and divine punishment all at once. As crime rates begin to fall and whispers of Kira spread across nations, Light looks out at the world with quiet satisfaction. He is no longer just a student bound by rules and expectations. He has become something else entirely, the unseen force shaping humanity's future. And with that belief, the line between justice and tyranny begins to blur. The world does not remain silent for long. As fear spreads and criminals continue to fall, governments realize that something unprecedented is happening. This is not chance, nor illness, nor coincidence. Someone is judging the world from the shadows. And so, in secrecy, they turn to a name spoken only in whispers. A detective whose success has become legend. He is known simply as L. From a darkened room filled with monitors and wires, L begins to observe. He studies patterns, timings, causes of death, and human behavior. Unlike the rest of the world, he does not ask who Kira is at first. He asks how Kira kills. No weapon, no poison, no physical presence. Just death, arriving on schedule. L moves quickly, setting a trap meant to shock the world and provoke Kira into revealing himself. A man claiming to be L appears on television, announcing that Kira is evil and will be brought to justice. The broadcast airs only in one region of the world, Japan. Within moments, the man collapses and dies live on air. The message is clear. L watches calmly as the truth unfolds. Kira needs a name and a face. And Kira is in Japan. Light watches the same broadcast from his home, heart steady, mind racing. He knows instantly that this is no ordinary opponent. Someone intelligent, someone dangerous, is now hunting him. But instead of panic, Light feels excitement. For the first time since finding the notebook, he feels challenged. From that moment on, the game truly begins. L tightens surveillance across Japan, quietly narrowing his focus. Light continues writing names, but now with care and intention, shaping his killings to appear random while hiding his presence. Each move becomes deliberate, each decision layered with meaning. Two brilliant minds now circle each other from opposite sides of the darkness. One seeking absolute justice through control, the other seeking truth through reason. And neither intends to lose. L wastes no time pressing his advantage. Surveillance tightens around the families of Japan's police force, and among them, the Yagami household becomes a focal point. Cameras hide behind walls, microphones sit unseen, and every movement is quietly recorded. Light senses the pressure immediately, though he never shows it. His days remain calm, his behavior flawless, as if nothing at all has changed. Inside his room, with unseen eyes watching, Light performs an exhausting performance of innocence. He studies, laughs, and lives exactly as expected, while secretly continuing his killings through carefully planned loopholes. Even under constant observation, Kira does not stop. To Light, this is proof of his own superiority. Then L takes a bold step. He appears in person. At Light's school, during a quiet moment, L introduces himself face to face, calmly stating that he is L. The confession lands like a stone dropped into still water. Light's mind races, but his expression never changes. He smiles politely, shaking hands with the man he knows is his greatest enemy. From that moment on, their lives become tightly entwined. L invites Light to join the investigation, claiming trust while never truly giving it. The two spend hours together, studying, testing, observing. Every conversation becomes a battlefield, every silence a calculation. They speak kindly, even respectfully, yet each knows the other is lying. Ryuk watches from above, amused by the tension, entertained by how human pride and intellect collide so fiercely. To him, this is better than any game the Shinigami realm could offer. As days pass, the pressure intensifies. L sets traps designed to provoke mistakes. Light counters with layered plans that turn suspicion back on itself. Neither gains proof. Neither backs down. The world outside continues to change under Kira's influence, but within this quiet war of minds, something far more dangerous grows. Mutual obsession. Each sees the other as the final obstacle. And somewhere between trust and hatred, the line between hunter and hunted becomes impossible to see. The days begin to blur together as the investigation deepens. Light and L sit across from one another for hours at a time, surrounded by files, screens, and quiet tension. Their conversations are polite, thoughtful, even friendly. But beneath every word lies suspicion. Each smile is measured, each pause carefully timed. To anyone watching, they appear to be allies working toward the same goal. In truth, they are locked in a silent duel. Light adapts to constant surveillance with remarkable calm. He structures his life down to the smallest detail, planning his movements, his study habits, even his moments of rest. Every action is chosen to reinforce the image of an ordinary, hard-working student. Yet behind this carefully maintained surface, his mind is always moving, always calculating how to continue judging the world without exposing himself. L, meanwhile, never stops watching. He studies Light's reactions, his posture, the rhythm of his thoughts. He introduces subtle tests, changes in schedules, unexpected questions, quiet shifts meant to provoke a crack in the mask. Each time, Light responds flawlessly. Too flawlessly. The absence of mistakes only deepens L's suspicion. As Kira's killings continue, Light alters patterns deliberately, adjusting times and methods to confuse the investigation. The deaths feel less mechanical now, more intentional, as though guided by an unseen intelligence shaping the world from afar. The public's fear grows, but so does their quiet approval. Some begin to see Kira not as a murderer, but as a necessary force. At night, when the world finally goes quiet, Light reflects on how easily people accept power when it benefits them. He believes this confirms his purpose. If humanity will not govern itself, then it must be guided, firmly, decisively, without mercy. Ryuk watches from the shadows, chewing on apples and grinning at the unfolding drama. To him, Light and L are no different from pieces on a board, moving closer with every turn. He knows the rules of this world better than either of them, and he knows one truth above all else. No one who touches the Death Note ever truly escapes it. As the tension tightens and neither side gains ground, the battle grows more dangerous, not because of what has happened, but because of what is coming. Just as the balance between Light and L settles into a dangerous stalemate, a new presence disrupts everything. A second wave of deaths begins, messier, more emotional, and far less controlled. The patterns no longer match Kira's careful precision. The world senses it immediately. There is another hand at work. This new Kira acts with obsession rather than strategy. Her name is Misa Amane, a popular model whose life was saved by the Death Note long before she ever touched one herself. Devoted to Kira with near religious intensity, she welcomes the power without hesitation. Unlike Light, she does not question the morality of killing. To her, Kira is justice incarnate, and she is willing to do anything to stand beside him. Misa possesses a dangerous advantage. Through a deal with her Shinigami, she has gained the Shinigami eyes, allowing her to see people's names and lifespans simply by looking at their faces. What took Light hours of planning now comes to her effortlessly. Her killings grow faster, bolder, and far more visible. L notices the change immediately. The careful symmetry of Kira's judgment has fractured. The new killings are impulsive, emotional, and reckless. Signs of a second personality, a second mind. While the public believes Kira has evolved, L understands the truth. There are now two Kiras. Light, too, feels the danger. Misa's devotion makes her impossible to ignore, but her lack of restraint threatens everything he has built. He approaches her not as an ally, but as a liability, someone who must be controlled, guided, and silenced if necessary. Their meeting feels surreal. Misa beams with excitement, convinced she has found her savior. Light smiles back, hiding irritation behind charm. Inwardly, he begins constructing a new layer of deception, one that uses Misa's loyalty as both shield and weapon. Above them all, two Shinigami observe in quiet amusement. Where once there was a single thread of fate, now there are many, twisting, tangling, pulling tighter with every choice. The game has changed again, and with more players on the board, the margin for error grows thinner than ever. Suspicion finally reaches a breaking point. L, having traced the strange signals and broadcasts connected to the second Kira, moves swiftly. Misa Amane is taken into custody, her cheerful confidence replaced by confusion as she is isolated and interrogated. Around the same time, the pressure closes in on Light as well. The careful world he has built begins to tighten, walls slowly moving inward. L makes a decisive move. Light Yagami is arrested. The moment is quiet, almost anticlimactic. There is no dramatic struggle, no public announcement, only cold rooms, restraints, and long stretches of silence. Light is confined alone, stripped of freedom, stripped of information, watched constantly. The isolation is meant to break him, to force a mistake, a confession, a flicker of guilt. But something unexpected happens. While imprisoned, Light voluntarily gives up ownership of the Death Note. In that instant, his memories vanish. The notebook, Kira, the killings, everything fades as if it never existed. What remains is only a brilliant, ordinary young man who truly believes he has done nothing wrong. He screams in frustration, confused by the accusations, shaken by the cruelty of his confinement. Days pass, then weeks, and the killings stop. The world notices immediately. Criminals no longer die mysteriously. The steady rhythm of Kira's judgment disappears, leaving behind a heavy, uncertain silence. L watches closely, troubled by what this means. If Light were truly Kira, the deaths should have continued. Instead, the world feels strangely empty without them. Misa, still imprisoned, also relinquishes her death note. Her memories fade just as Light's did, leaving her lost and frightened, no longer able to understand why she is there. L begins to doubt himself. Reluctantly, he releases them both. Light returns to the world, shaken but sincere, determined to clear his name. He even joins the investigation officially, working side by side with L to hunt the very killer he once was. The irony hangs thick in the air, unseen but ever present. And somewhere beyond human sight, the death notes wait patiently, silent, heavy, and ready to be claimed once more. With Light and Misa free, the investigation takes on an unsettling new shape. Light works alongside the task force with genuine determination, his expression open, his thoughts clear. Without the memories of the death note, he is no longer burdened by secrecy or manipulation. Instead, he feels only confusion. Confusion about why he was ever suspected, and confusion about the fear that still lingers around the name Kira. L watches him carefully. Something feels wrong, but not in the way he expected. Light behaves too naturally, too honestly. There is no strain in his voice, no hesitation in his reasoning. He debates theories passionately, challenges assumptions, and even argues against Kira's ideology, calling the killings immoral and dangerous. L cannot ignore how sincere he seems. Then, the killings begin again. Criminals start dying of heart attacks once more, slowly at first, then with growing confidence. The world trembles as the name Kira returns to the headlines. For Light, the news is shocking. For L, it is deeply troubling. If Kira is active again, and Light has been under constant observation, then the truth becomes harder to deny. Light may not be Kira after all. The task force shifts its focus, searching for a new suspect. Evidence begins to point toward a powerful corporation with secretive operations and questionable leadership. The possibility emerges that Kira's power can be transferred, passed from one person to another like a curse. As Light assists in unraveling this mystery, he feels a strange pull, an unexplainable sense that something important is missing from his life. At times, he stares at nothing, feeling as though he has forgotten a crucial piece of himself. Above them, unseen, Ryuk waits patiently. He knows the truth. He knows that memories, once lost, can return in an instant. And as the investigation moves closer to the hidden death note, fate quietly prepares to restore what was taken. The calm before the storm settles in, heavy and deceptive, as Light walks unknowingly toward the moment that will change everything again. The trail finally leads the task force to a vast and powerful corporation, one that hides its influence behind polite smiles and corporate walls. Inside its offices, secrets move quietly, protected by wealth and authority. As the investigation deepens, it becomes clear that someone within this organization has gained access to the same deadly power that once shaped the world. Light joins the operation with focused determination, unaware of the truth waiting just beyond his reach. During a carefully planned confrontation, the death note is revealed once more. its dark cover familiar, though Light does not yet understand why his chest tightens at the sight of it. When chaos breaks out, Light makes contact with the notebook. In that instant, everything returns. Memories flood back like a sudden storm. The notebook, the killings, Kira, the god he believed himself to be. The calm, innocent version of Light disappears without a trace, replaced by the calculating mind that once ruled from the shadows. His expression barely changes, but inside, his thoughts sharpen with terrifying clarity. Light understands immediately what must be done. Without alerting anyone, he resumes his role as Kira, killing the current holder of the Death Note and reclaiming full control. To the task force, the case appears solved. A false Kira has been caught and eliminated. The world breathes a quiet sigh of relief. But behind Light's composed smile, a new confidence takes root. He has outlasted suspicion. He has survived imprisonment. He has stood face to face with L and walked away unexposed. To Light, this is proof that his judgment is flawless. Fate itself bends to his will. As the task force celebrates progress, Light looks ahead, not just to victory, but to dominance. The board has been reset, the pieces rearranged, and once again, Kira stands at the center of it all, unseen and unstoppable. Above him, Ryuk watches with silent fascination, knowing that every triumph only draws the ending closer. With his memories restored, Light moves through the world with renewed precision. Every word he speaks, every glance he offers, is once again carefully measured. To the task force, he is a dependable ally, intelligent, calm, and seemingly committed to ending Kira's reign. In truth, he is closer than ever to absolute control. L remains uneasy. Though the evidence points elsewhere, his instincts refuse to quiet. He watches Light closely, studying the smallest details. The way his eyes linger, the confidence in his posture, the ease with which he navigates danger. L senses that something fundamental has shifted, even if he cannot prove it. Light anticipates this doubt and begins to shape events with extreme care. He manipulates the rules of the Death Note, creating layers of deception that hide his involvement even from those standing inches away. Killings occur in ways that reinforce his innocence, making L's suspicions appear increasingly irrational to the rest of the task force. At the same time, Light deepens his influence over Misa, using her devotion as both protection and leverage. She trusts him completely, unaware of how thoroughly she is being used. To Light, emotions are tools, useful only if they serve his vision of a purified world. As days pass, the investigation slows. L finds himself isolated, surrounded by allies who no longer share his certainty. The weight of being alone presses heavily on him. He begins to wonder whether his lifelong pursuit of truth has finally led him astray. Light watches all of this unfold with quiet satisfaction. He believes the game is nearing its end. The detective who once cornered him is now trapped by his own doubt, and the world continues to turn under Kira's unseen hand. For the first time, Light allows himself to imagine a future where no one stands against him. But beneath this growing confidence lies a dangerous flaw. Light has begun to believe not just that he is winning, but that he cannot lose. The tension that has hovered between Light and L for so long begins to feel strangely quiet, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Rain falls steadily one evening, soft and endless, washing the city in gray. Light and L stand together beneath the downpour, their figures mirrored in the reflective pavement. Two minds bound by fate, yet separated by truth. L's suspicions never truly faded. Even now, as evidence points away from Light, his instincts whisper that something is terribly wrong. He feels it in the pauses between words, in the way Light's confidence no longer wavers. Yet suspicion without proof is powerless, and L knows he is running out of time. Light, on the other hand, feels calm, focused. Every variable has been accounted for. Every rule bent just enough to remain unseen. The Death Note moves through hands exactly as planned, and each step leads closer to a single outcome. Light believes he has already won. Now, he only needs to let the final moment arrive. That moment comes quietly. Through a carefully orchestrated chain of events, Light ensures that L stands directly in the path of death, without ever touching the notebook himself. As the clock ticks forward, Light watches with steady eyes, his expression unreadable. There is no celebration in his face, no hesitation in his heart. To him, this is not betrayal. It is necessity. L collapses.
The world does not stop, but something vital disappears from it.
The greatest detective of his time dies without confirmation, without closure, still holding on to doubt until his final breath. Rain continues to fall, washing away the moment as if it never happened. Light stands alone afterward, staring into the distance. The weight of what has happened settles over him, not as guilt, but as certainty. The last true obstacle is gone. In the days that follow, the investigation dissolves. No one questions Light's innocence. No one stands in his way. The name Kira continues to echo across the world, and this time, there is no voice left to challenge it. Light Yagami has reached the peak, and in that silence, he truly believes himself to be a god. Time moves forward, and the world quietly reshapes itself around Kira's presence. Years pass, marked by fewer crimes and a heavy, unspoken fear that hangs over society. People obey the law not because they believe in justice, but because they believe someone is always watching. Kira's judgment has become a constant, invisible force. Light Yagami matures into his role with chilling ease. Now working closely with global law enforcement, he occupies a position of authority and trust. To the world, he is a symbol of order and intelligence. To himself, he is the architect of a new era. Each name written in the Death Note feels less like an action and more like a simple correction, a quiet adjustment to the world's balance. But far from Light's sight, L's legacy has not faded. In the shadows, two successors trained to replace L begin to move. Near, calm and analytical, studies Kira from a distance, examining patterns without emotion. Mello, driven and reckless, chooses a more violent path, willing to embrace chaos to reach the truth. Though they never work together, both are drawn toward the same conclusion. Kira still exists. Light underestimates them at first. He believes L was the only true threat, the only mind capable of challenging him. To Light, the world has already accepted its new god, and resistance feels pointless. But subtle shifts begin to appear. Information leaks. Movements that once felt predictable now feel uncertain. Somewhere, unseen observers are watching once more, piecing together fragments left behind by the man who nearly stopped Kira before. Above it all, Ryuk remains unchanged, floating lazily through the years. To him, human lifespans blur together. Victories and defeats mean nothing. Yet even he senses that the game has not ended, only paused.
And with new players stepping onto the board, the quiet world Kira built begins, slowly, to crack. The fragile calm that Kira created begins to fracture as the successors of El move closer. Near operates from the shadows, surrounded by quiet rooms and scattered toys, assembling truth piece by piece with detached focus. He does not rush. He observes patterns over time, comparing past and present, searching for the familiar shape of Kira's logic. To Near, the case is not emotional. It is mathematical. Mello, by contrast, rejects patience entirely. He breaks away from the systems meant to contain him, surrounding himself with criminals and chaos. Where Near studies, Mello strikes. He believes truth must be forced into the open, even if the world burns in the process. Their methods differ, but their goal is the same: expose Kira. Light becomes aware of them gradually. At first, they are nothing more than rumors, echoes of El that refuse to die. But as Near's deductions sharpen and Mello's actions disrupt global stability, Light feels the first hint of irritation he has felt in years. He reassures himself that these successors lack El's insight, that none could ever truly replace him. Still, he adjusts his plans. Light tightens control over the task force, subtly guiding decisions and limiting information. Killings become even more precise, designed to reinforce the illusion that Kira is beyond human reach. He believes that by overwhelming the world with order, resistance will simply collapse. Yet the pressure builds. Mello's unpredictable attacks create gaps in Light's system, forcing rushed responses. Near quietly collects the data those reactions reveal. Every adjustment Light makes leaves a trace, and Near follows those traces patiently, confident they will lead to the truth. Light remains outwardly calm, but inwardly, something shifts. The certainty that once defined him begins to strain under the weight of opposition. He is still in control, but now, for the first time since El's death, he knows he is being hunted again. And this time, the hunters are learning from the past. The conflict deepens when Mello makes his presence impossible to ignore. In a bold and reckless move, he kidnaps Light's sister, dragging her into the dangerous underworld he now controls. The act sends shockwaves through the task force and pierces the calm mask Light has worn for years. For the first time, Kira's perfect system is threatened by something deeply personal. Outwardly, Light appears desperate, an older brother fearing for his family. Inwardly, his thoughts race with cold calculation. Every outcome is weighed, every sacrifice considered. He understands that to protect his position as Kira, something must be lost. And if necessary, even family can become a piece on the board. The exchange that follows is tense and quiet, heavy with unspoken consequences. The death note changes hands once again, and Mello escapes, wounded but alive. Light's sister survives, but the cost is invisible and immense. Another line has been crossed, another reminder that Kira's justice demands payment from everyone, not just criminals. Near observes from a distance, studying the ripples left behind by Mello's actions. To him, this incident confirms something important. Kira reacts when pressured, and reactions, no matter how subtle, reveal truth. Light senses the tightening net, but refuses to slow down. Instead, he doubles down on control, believing that decisive action will restore balance. Yet beneath his confidence, cracks begin to form. The world is no longer moving exactly as he intends. Above it all, Ryuk floats silently, watching the strain deepen. He knows what humans forget, that power always comes with a price, and the bill is always collected in the end. The board grows crowded, the moves more desperate, and the end begins to feel closer with every passing moment. Near's quiet pursuit begins to narrow, step by careful step. He studies the years following L's death and notices how Kira's methods have subtly changed, more controlled, more restrained, as though guided by someone who now believes the outcome is already decided. To Near, this confidence is not proof of divinity. It is a weakness. Light, meanwhile, feels the pressure growing, though he refuses to acknowledge it openly. He moves through meetings with calm authority, issuing instructions, guiding investigations, shaping conclusions before others even realize a choice has been made. To those around him, he seems unshakable. To himself, he feels untouchable. But Near continues to test the edges. Small inconsistencies emerge. Decisions that benefit Kira too cleanly. Moments where Light's judgment seems just a fraction too precise. Near does not accuse. He simply observes, stacking quiet questions on top of one another, waiting for the structure beneath to show its shape. Light responds by tightening control further. He limits information, redirects focus, and places absolute trust in the systems he has built. He believes that as long as he remains careful, the world will never see the truth. The Death Note rests securely within his reach, a silent reminder of the power that has carried him this far. Yet something has changed. Light no longer plans with patience. He plans with certainty. He assumes his enemies will make mistakes. He assumes his intelligence is enough. The careful balance that once defined Kira begins to tilt toward arrogance, though Light does not recognize it as such. Ryuk watches with mild curiosity, sensing the shift. He has seen this before in humans who hold power too long. The calm before collapse often feels exactly like confidence. As Near's suspicions quietly sharpen and Light's certainty grows heavier, the path forward becomes dangerously narrow. One misstep, just one, will be enough. And though Light cannot see it yet, the endgame has already begun. The fragile balance finally begins to break as Mello makes his last, reckless move. Driven by obsession and impatience, he forces events forward without concern for his own safety. His actions ripple outward, creating chaos that Light cannot fully control. For the first time in years, Kira is forced to react rather than dictate. Mello's interference exposes gaps in Light's carefully maintained system. Information flows where it should not. Alliances shift. Plans that once unfolded smoothly now require quick adjustments. Each reaction leaves behind traces, small, but visible to someone patient enough to look. Near sees them. With calm precision, he gathers fragments from every disturbance, every irregularity caused by Mello's actions. Where Light sees obstacles to eliminate, Near sees patterns forming. The image grows clearer. Kira is not distant or divine. Kira is human, and he is close. Light grows irritated. The sense of being watched, once thrilling, now feels intrusive. He tightens his grip on the Death Note, convinced that decisive action will end the threat once and for all. In his mind, the solution is simple. Remove the remaining pieces and the world will return to order. But this time, the board refuses to settle. Mello's actions culminate in a moment that cannot be ignored, forcing Near to accelerate his plans. With the final pieces in place, Near prepares for a confrontation that will bring everything into the open. Above them, Ryuk drifts lazily, aware that the game has reached its most interesting point. He knows humans always reveal their true selves when cornered, not through strength, but through desperation. The storm gathers quietly, and both sides step toward the center, unaware that only one of them will walk away believing they ever had control. Near's plan moves forward with deliberate calm. Every variable is measured, every possible reaction anticipated. He understands that Kira's greatest weapon has never been the Death Note itself, but confidence, the belief that no one could ever truly outthink him. To defeat Kira, Near decides, that belief must be shattered in public, where it can no longer hide.
Light senses the shift immediately. Meetings feel different now, heavier, charged with unspoken tension. Near's gaze lingers just long enough to feel deliberate, his questions just pointed enough to unsettle. Still, Light remains outwardly composed. He tells himself this is no different from L. He has survived this before. Yet beneath the calm, something tightens. Near arranges a final gathering, bringing all remaining players together under the pretense of closing the case once and for all. Light believes this moment will mark his ultimate victory. His plan is already in motion, the Death Note prepared, names memorized. In his mind, this confrontation will end the same way every threat has ended, silently, decisively. What Light does not realize is that Near has already reached into the heart of Kira's system. A single change has been made, subtle and invisible, altering the outcome of everything Light believes is about to happen. The notebook Light plans to use is no longer what it seems. Near waits patiently, confident that the truth will reveal itself without force. As the final meeting draws closer, the air grows still. Each participant steps into place, unaware of which side of history they are standing on. Light smiles faintly, convinced that the world is about to witness the triumph of its god. But in Near's quiet certainty, the ending has already been written, without Kira's hand guiding it. The final confrontation unfolds in a quiet warehouse, far from the eyes of the public, where truth and lies have nowhere left to hide. The air feels still, heavy, as Near calmly lays out his reasoning piece by piece. Each word lands gently, yet carries immense weight. He speaks not with anger, but with certainty. Light listens, composed and confident, waiting for the moment when his plan will conclude the way it always has. In his mind, the ending is already decided. He believes that, when the time comes, everyone standing before him will fall, just another correction in the world he has shaped. But nothing happens. Seconds pass, then more. No one collapses. No names take effect. Near watches Light closely as the silence stretches. He reveals the final truth. The Death Note Light planned to use was secretly replaced. The names written inside no longer hold power. The perfect plan, refined over years, has failed without a sound. For the first time, Light's expression fractures. The calm mask slips, replaced by disbelief, then panic. He protests, denies, and finally lashes out, his words tumbling over one another as the reality sinks in. Every careful lie unravels at once. In that moment, the god Kira disappears, and what remains is a desperate human, cornered and exposed. Near stands firm, unmoved by the chaos. The truth is complete now, undeniable. Kira has been revealed not through force,
but through patience. As the warehouse fills with the weight of revelation, Light realizes that the game he believed he controlled has ended, not with victory, but with silence. With the truth laid bare, the room feels unbearably small. Light's breathing grows uneven as the weight of reality presses down on him. The careful composure he maintained for years dissolves completely, replaced by raw desperation. He shouts, argues, and pleads, his voice echoing against the cold walls as he tries to reclaim control through words alone. Gone is the calm strategist, the quiet god of judgment. In his place stands a frightened young man, exposed and unraveling. Light speaks of his vision, of a world without crime, of the sacrifices he believed were necessary. But his words no longer inspire fear or awe. They sound hollow now, stripped of power. The others watch in silence. Near does not raise his voice. He does not gloat. He simply observes, understanding that this moment is not about punishment, but revelation. Kira was never a divine force, only a human who believed himself above all others. The myth collapses entirely as Light's arrogance spills into madness. In a final attempt to escape, Light runs. Footsteps echo through the empty space as he flees into the night, wounded and desperate, clutching at the last threads of a world he once ruled. The city around him feels vast and indifferent, no longer shaped by his will. For the first time since picking up the Death Note, Light is truly alone. Above him, unseen, Ryuk follows quietly. He has watched this story from the beginning, amused by every twist, every rise and fall. To him, this moment is inevitable. All humans who use the Death Note reach the same end, no matter how clever they believe themselves to be. As Light stumbles forward, gasping for breath, Ryuk opens his notebook, ready to write the final name. Light collapses on the stairs, the world around him blurring into fragments of sound and shadow. Sirens echo faintly in the distance, but they feel impossibly far away, as though they belong to another life entirely. Blood seeps slowly beneath him, warm against the cold concrete, and with it, drains the strength that once carried his ambition. For the first time, Light looks afraid. His thoughts scatter, no longer sharp or orderly. Memories surface uninvited. Classrooms filled with sunlight. Quiet evenings at home. The boy he once was before power ever found him. He tries to stand, to move, to think his way out, but there is nowhere left to go. The world he believed he controlled no longer bends to his will. Ryuk steps forward at last, visible now, towering and indifferent. His voice is calm, almost casual, as he reminds Light of the rule that was always there from the beginning. The one truth Light chose to ignore. The one who uses the Death Note can never escape death. As Light begs, not for justice, not for forgiveness, but simply for more time, Ryuk opens his notebook. His pen moves smoothly across the page, writing the name with no hesitation, no emotion. To a Shinigami, this is not cruelty. It is routine. Light Yagami. The moment passes quietly. Light's eyes widen briefly, then soften, staring at nothing as his heart finally stops. The god he imagined himself to be vanishes without ceremony, leaving behind only a body and the echo of choices made too easily. The world continues on. Kira fades into history, debated and argued, remembered as both savior and monster. Crime rises again, people return to their flaws, and humanity remains imperfect, unchanged by the dream of absolute justice. Above it all, Ryuk drifts back into the darkness, already bored, already forgetting. and the death note waits once more for whoever might dare to pick it up next. And that is where this story comes to rest. A tale of power, justice, and the quiet cost of believing oneself above the world. If this helped you relax, a like is always appreciated. Let me know in the comments what story you'd like next, and subscribe for more peaceful anime nights ahead. Sleep well.